The biggest speedway, the biggest super speedway in the United States has returned once again to the Highline Racing League. 2.66 miles every lap, more than 30 degrees of banking in its corners. Speeds of north of 200 miles an hour, they're regular all throughout the circuit, non-stop. Pedal to the metal. Welcome back to Alabama. This is the Talladega SuperSpeedway, and it's great to return for the 9th race of the Highline Racing League's 18th season in the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. I'll be your host for tonight's event, live on FTN Broadcasting. I'm David Troitz, commentating and producing. Wonderful to return to a circuit that we've seen many a time, but now it's a chance to see it again with the Xfinity cars. We went to Daytona to open up the season. Talladega, our second and final superspeedway event on the calendar, and we've got a lineup of 31 drivers registered, a great crowd and a great field already looking toward qualifying. So far, halfway down and halfway remains as drivers are still taking times in a 5-minute session. So far, the leader of said session is going to be Scott Wheeler in the number 97. Intervals between drivers are going to be marginal for the time being. Scott Wheeler's got that lead by just about 1/100th of a second, and it still looks like that could change. 2 minutes and 5 seconds left. As you can see up on the high side, you saw one driver, now Dalton Beer, one of the many who's down low for his quick lap. Overall, 15 drivers plus have taken time so far, including defending superspeedway winner. That is, of course, Ty Smith. And he's going to find himself now ducking down low to the inside of the groove. Tyler Snyder now puts himself up to the pole position, but will be usurped once again by the 97 of Scott Wheeler. Scott's going to have the provisional pole now, but he's going to be beaten by his own teammate. Here is the number 2 of Scott Zellner up to the top of the board, and it looks like now Zellner leads it by 3/1000ths of a second over both, well, Dawson Buchanan, Wheeler, and Kendall Kerr, both of which got beat. Roberto Ramirez now up to the top by 23/1000ths of a second. Up next could be Alan Kunman, Kenny Brooks, and Lucas Lodano across the line now for the number 8 machine. Alan's first lap is going to be good enough for 23rd, and then you got Jason Harris and Lucas Lodano just beyond that point. Scott Zellner is still going to be here in the second spot. Kunman might be the last big surprise as there's still time for him to set a lap. 26 drivers have attempted so far. And now, it looks like the number 25 spot, well, that's where Allen lies. He will have a chance to continue improving. Ryan Hines is going to get up into 7th, and then you've got Chad Winstead 13th. It looks like now, that's the way both of which will stay. Alan Cunning's got the last opportunity to change things here, and he's going to come across the stripe with just about the front straightaway left. That's his only chance to make things a little bit different. 22 seconds remaining and still counting down. It's going to be Alan Kunman at the line. 54.76. That's going to be his quickest lap, and it moves him up now into the 23rd position. Little room for improvement otherwise, as Kenny Brooks now gets up to 20th himself. Overall, 28 drivers going to take a time in this session, and as a result, qualifying has concluded. Pole position is going to go to the number 42 of Roberto Ramirez. Ramirez having himself the pole position in Talladega. Quick time of a 54.649 does the job to get the top spots. As a result now, drivers are going to line up on our starting grid, ready to go racing once again tonight. We've gotten some great action so far at the super speedways this season. A lot of clean and green racing. As you see the iRacing official pace car, there's Casey Heschel, there's Scott Zellner. Let's take a better look at the field at large, including that number 2 Zellner, and of course on the front row with them tonight, it'll be Roberto Ramirez in the number 42. That is your starting front row. We'll see whether or not they finish there, but tonight they're going to get that advantage of kicking the race off at the front of the field. So with that being said, inside of row number 1, it's going to be Scott Zellner and Roberto Ramirez, and of course, first position going to be given to that number 42. Roberto Ramirez grabbing the pole position, although it does not look like he's going to get on the starting grid just yet. He will be your pole sitter, and then you've got the 18-time winner, Scott Zellner, right there beside him as well. Position number 3 going to be given to Dawson Buchanan, who had a strong run going in Chicago, and then got involved with some wrecking later on in the going on unfortunately for Buchanan, that eventually ended his night. So then from there, you got Scott Wheeler, who's going to be in P4. P5 is going to be just beyond, and Kendall Kerr and Connor Holden will be in 6th. 7th place is going to be Ryan Hines, and then in there, you're going to have 8th place in Colton Gardner. To round out the top 10, it's going to be Tyler Snyder and Jacob Halm, positions 9 and 10, of course, to round out the first 5 rows. You're going to have in the 6th row, Casey Heschel, and Ty Smith is going to be in right there. 12th, 11th, and 12th there on the 6th row, and then from there you've got 13th and 14th. Row number 7, Chad Winstead and Corey Blevins, who find themselves just inside of the top 15. Further on back, it's going to be the drivers in 15th and 16th, Dylan Pote, and a winner this season, Caleb Morrissey, in the number 6. 17th and 18th spot, it's going to be Terry Brooks and Matt Muir, with then the 20th position being held by Kenny Brooks. Seb Miller, P19, he was second in Daytona earlier in this season. Then from there, Dalton Beer and Lucas Lodato, your defending race winner, 21st and 22nd. 23rd place is going to be Alan Kunman, 2-time winner this season, and Ryan Potter for Swamp Motorsport. 23rd and 24th, Jimmy McKee and Jason Harris. And then from there, you're going to have rather than 24th and 25th, those were P25 and P26. 27th and 28th, though, are just behind. That's Adam Bozzi and Tyler Hampton. And to round out the top 30, you've got DJ Stagner and J.R. Houston. Finally, the 31st and last driver on the day, Matthew Rodriguez in the 0-1. That's your starting grid, and every one of which have been rolling now for our one and only pace lap. Track conditions in Talladega, 113-degree track temperature, ambient temp coming in at 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds are currently going to be headed northwest bound at 75 miles an hour. Drivers are getting ready now for our starting grid, of course, to go racing for 75 laps of action in Talladega, a distance we are quite familiar with. Welcome to your WNC SuperSpeedway race. Now you know the starting grid. It's time to get ready, get going, and find out who's got the speed in Alabama tonight. Down low with Roberto Ramirez, and Scott Zellner will start right on the high groove. And so now, Roberto Ramirez gets a chance to lead the field. Throwback paint schemes for almost the entirety of the pack. We'll go one by one and get to know all the brand new paint schemes in the field. Number 42 getting a chance to throw it back to Texaco and Felix Sabanas and Chip Ganassi Racing. Haviline paint scheme going to be changed up for tonight. And alongside him, the Blue Deuce for Penske usually, Scott Zellner. 75 laps of racing are due to begin in NASCAR's fastest circuit. We are underway in Talladega with Roberto Ramirez leading the field for our first lap of the night. Roberto Ramirez is going to have the advantage on the inside groove, but lap 1 is still going to be led there by Scott Zellner up top. Double file for the majority of the field, and so 30 drivers took to the start of this race, it appears. Matthew Rodriguez, 31st registered starter, is with us here, and he finds himself on the way. Nevertheless, one driver looks like a retiree early, and that's going to be J.R. Houston. Houston registered, however, it looks like the number 20 will not be racing. Now, up at the front of the field, the battle is not much a battle, but instead more of a stalemate, as we saw the kickoff last SuperSpeedway race. Daytona, we saw a majority of the race run under very calm, green flag conditions. The first 25, 30, and then on to almost 50 consecutive laps were run really with no issue. These drivers, I think, are going to replicate a very similar strategy. Even if, of course, Daytona saw more drivers, I think there's less reason now to be aggressive because you won't fall back further. There's some drivers already laying back at the tail end of the field who have decided already to let the front of the pack do the job. The rest of the field here is going to stay 2 by 2 and nobody backing out so far. Multiple causes for tonight. The WNC SuperSpeedway race. Scott Puckett in the chat. We'd like to thank him for stopping by. SP Designs. A lot of drivers with SP paint schemes, and that's going to be a crucial point of our talking points tonight with regards to who and what this race is for. If you have a keen eye, you might have noticed on the thumbnail, this race dedicated to those in Asheville, North Carolina, including the SP Designs crew. So a lot going on with respect to the real-world impact tonight. Let's talk first and foremost about the virtual paint schemes and get that out of the way so you know who's who at the front of the field and on down. So far, Scott Zellner's your race leader, and for good reason. The 18-time series winner, the winningest driver ever in this series. Well, he's done it many a time before, and he's looking to do it again. He is 2 wins away from that, of course, all too faithful 20th victory. It's due to come, but we still question when that time will be. And for Scott Zellner tonight, it's going to be a little bit of a different paint scheme for Penske Racing, a throwback to their time with Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and drivers of the like, bringing back the iconic blue. Although it's not on a Dodge, it's instead on a Ford Mustang. It's a paint scheme well known all throughout stock car racing, and tonight worn well by Scott Zellner, who is the traditional driver of that number 2. Roberto Ramirez, we mentioned at 42. He drives that number week in, week out, and it's a Haviland throwback in the number 42 Toyota Supra. Black and red, brand new look for him tonight, throwing it back some 30 years in that number 42, and many a driver having raced that paint scheme before. It's not necessarily a look identified by one driver. We've even seen drivers as recent as Kyle Larson take a spin with that very same look, but more specifically, if you were to look back, drivers like Ernie Irvan and a very similar paint scheme for the 28 of then Davey Allison, although he was not with Felix Sabates, and Chip Ganassi. It's a paint scheme best known for its time in the number 42. So right now, Ramirez doing a good job of leading it on the inside, and it looks like a little contest as he finds himself to the bottom. Scott Wheeler going to have his regular paint scheme, but Dawson Buchanan is not. He's got the Mac tonight, number 4, and McDonald's in the 1990s, well, they were a significant part of multiple operations, but you might remember first and foremost that they were a part of Bill Elliott's operation in the late 1990s, and that's what this is a throwback to. The number 94 of Bill Elliott, when he was an owner-driver, McDonald's was the major season-long sponsor, and so this is once again a throwback to Bill Elliott in his time racing with a Ford, not a Toyota. Last time this paint scheme ran was in the mid-2010s with Jamie McMurray, and he was with Chip Ganassi when he ran it in the number 1. That's when McDonald's, of course, was sponsoring the Chip Ganassi team. But tonight, Dawson Buchanan, bringing out a Toyota, had a strong run in Chicago, hindered by multiple incidents, and so he's looking for a good recovery tonight, as we'll look a little bit further back in the field. Kendall Kerr's number 21, well, it's a different look, that's for certain, and it is part of the main theme of the race, shall we say. Appalachia strong tonight, the WNC SuperSpeedway race, and this race in solidarity with all those all throughout Appalachia, particularly those in North Carolina afflicted by recent hurricane and devastation. Infrastructure-wise, we are well aware that for a lot of members that we know of the Highline Racing League family, this recent hurricane season has been devastating. SP Designs, Scott Puckett, luckily Puckett and family, to our understanding, are out of direct harm's way. But it's going to take an awful lot, of course, for the entire region of Appalachian, North Carolina, and specifically the town of Asheville, North Carolina, to recover from the devastation that we have most recently seen. Highline Racing League does have a statement in mind with respect to these recent incidents. We've had 3 drivers with the league and their families impacted by the devastation from Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina. Thankfully, everyone is safe and accounted for as cleanup efforts have continued. Tonight's race is to let them know that we stand with and support them as they work to get back on their feet. We've left the information in the description of the broadcast below, but if you can, please consider sending a donation to Beloved Asheville, Samaritan's Purse, or your choice of provider to assist those whose lives have been turned upside down by this generational event. You can also support Highline Racing League driver Scott Puckett and his family, who were impacted by purchasing a shirt with the WNC Strong logo on the SP Designs Redbubble store. That's something a lot of drivers will have on them tonight and for the rest of the season. Multiple drivers covering and being covered by the SP Designs decals. That will be pretty prominent as you see on the broadcast henceforth. Additionally, we are thinking of those impacted by Hurricanes Milton passed through Florida and hope that our Highline Racing League drivers, their families, and all those watching remain safe. Of course, check out the information we've left in the description tonight. Appalachia Strong, Western North Carolina Strong, SuperSpeedway Race tonight, of course, sending our solidarity to all those affected. And it looks like right now Kendall Kerr going to go a little bit up higher. Looks like he might try to make a move 3 wide for the first time tonight. Interesting move. Connor Holden in a number 81. You might see the 3 doors down decal on the number 81. So this is going to be another one of those mid-2000s paint schemes. That number 3, reminiscent, of course, of the one we've seen in Richard Childress Racing, but no affiliation. 3 doors round, of course, 3 doors down. Rock Group. Early 2000s, mid-2000s, maybe that would suit more of the audience of this channel than anything else. And while it might not be an iconic paint scheme by any means, definitely a different look and taking it back to a different generation. Ryan Hines right now going to be in a 4 wide maneuver, and the number 25, he finds himself in the thick of the fight. He's going to be tonight as we look at that number 25 team. Well, currently running pretty strong, but he's kind of hard to make out. He's running his normal paint scheme. That might be why. You've got Jacob Halm in the number 76 Sunny Delight paint scheme. Not much of a throwback. This paint scheme is pretty new. However, it has been run in the real world by drivers, particularly when we think about those sponsored by Sunny D in the past, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., etc. You got Jacob Halm, of course, that we just spoke of, Colton Gardner's regular paint scheme, and Casey Heschel, the Amico, number 49. This paint scheme gets its rounds on FTN no matter who drives it. Red, white, and blue. It's an iconic look that's become iconic from the late 1990s. Odds are you probably cannot name the driver who was in the Amico NASCAR machinery way back when, and I wouldn't blame you. It's not many drivers you might know of off the top of your head, but Dave Blaney might be the biggest example of a star in the Amico machine. His son Ryan becoming a NASCAR Cup Series championship winner, well, means the Blaney family in the limelight, especially to this day. But Dave Blaney had himself a fruitful NASCAR Cup Series career. His best finish came in the Jasper number 77 in 2003 at the Darlington Raceway. But he might be best known in the 90s anyway for the colorful red, white, and blue paint scheme you see on your screen. Amico gas stations, at least in the area I'm in anyhow, are few and far in between, but their colors are known all throughout the country. And so far, representing them well, Casey Heschel finds himself down to 17th as it's a bundle of drivers who just got by him. You see Jimmy McKee up on the top side, the number 48. It's a DuPont paint scheme. It looks like a throwback to Jeff Gordon and his days in the Busch Series in the late 1990s, and of course the continued partnership with Hendrick Motorsport. Matt Muir coming in as well. That's the number 70, and it looks like tonight he's got himself a throwback reminiscent of DirecTV, although it does have the MM Designs insignia on it. That's going to be Richard Childress Racing, and the number 70 numbers, of course, much like Clint Boyer in the 07 for Jack Daniels. A nice paint scheme you see on the bottom. I think Dylan Poteet might be one of the standouts of the night. Dylan, well, you see the beaming orange, and now we're going to point our eyes right toward him. He's got himself a throwback to Singular, not a wireless network you hear of any longer, and he's a little bit further back than this gaggle rolling 3 wide, but you can see it there. Jeff Burton, Singular, mid-2000s NASCAR Cup Series. That's a paint scheme that is known well throughout contemporary stock car racing. Harrison Burton won at Daytona, a superspeedway event in the NASCAR Cup Series, and Jeff Burton, one of the better drivers at superspeedways all throughout his career. This is a pretty familiar paint scheme, of course, if you're a fan of the Burton family, and perhaps Jeff Burton's best-known look. And as much as Ward Burton's best-known look, the Caterpillar 22, I think that 31 stands out the best when it comes to Jeff's career. Take a look further back. You got Matt Muir, Caleb Morrissey, and a few other drivers you might recognize the paint schemes of already. Tonight, not necessarily a throwback, but for Terry Brooks, he's got himself the WCU paint scheme, beaming purple and the metallic number. Not a throwback per se, but a different look. And you can see now, it looks like Terry Brooks finds himself just outside the top 20. Not doing a half bad job. There's the Amico 49, and here's a few paint schemes we got to touch on one by one. Matthew Rodriguez is in the 0-1 tonight, and he's got the Reese's Toyota Supra. Reese's has been around in stock car racing for decades now, but I think that's a throwback directly to Kevin Harvick in the NASCAR Cup and Busch Series in the early 2000s when Kevin Harvick was with Richard Childress Racing anyway. The 0-1, same number font as the number 29 was, and so I think Richard Childress Racing represented well, as you see. Well, the 31, Jeff Burton, and tonight a throwback to the 29 in Matthew Rodriguez, both of which running alongside each other. And then you look further back, you got Terry Brooks, you got Casey Heschel, and this is a paint scheme we have seen before run by the very same driver. That is Sebastian Miller. Throwback to Lake Speed in 1988, and it looks like tonight he's come back with the exact same look. It's a fantastic paint scheme first and foremost, and that's why we love seeing it come back and again. Kmart win number 83 for the World Karting Champion of 1979. He's Lake Speed anyway, not necessarily remembered well, I would say. His stock car racing prowess is something to be, of course, discussed at a later date. Caution's out for the first time tonight. Back of the field is where the incident happened, and so now as the field gets away from it, the incident involves Corey Blevins, the 24, one of the few who got shaken up bad. And so let's take a look back here, as it looks like Corey Blevins gets the worst of the incident. It's going to be Blevins involved, and it looks like maybe Scott Wheeler, this one happening at the front of the field. There's DJ Stagner, and 3 wide up top. Blevins was getting pushed down the back straightaway. Contact with Wheeler sends them both down the track, and only one other driver involved in Stagner. Stagner gets away. Worst hit, though, for those two drivers, Wheeler and Blevins. Caution's out for the first time tonight. 16 laps in out of 75. Wheeler, Stagner, Blevins, 3-car wreck, and despite the fact it happened for the lead, very few other drivers got involved. Lucky to say the least that that's indeed the case, and so now we'll go back at it again. Tyler Snyder going to lead the way, and I think now they're all going to come down to pit road. The decision is clear. Head in ASAP. And so the 87 of Tyler Snyder, he is up next to do so. And he's going to come in leading the field to pit road for the first service of the night. Jim McKee already in his pit stall, and everyone comes together in the pit road again. Luckily, very few get involved in that first wreck, and so more than 25 strong will come in without any issue. Corey Blevins is going to be given an end-of-line penalty as a result of being involved in that most recent yellow. There's Roberto Ramirez, Scott Zellner, and company out. Scott Zellner is going to get the advantage out of all, and besides Alan Kunman and Roberto Rodriguez, or rather, Matthew Rodriguez, Roberto Ramirez just got out on the way as well. Only 2 drivers stay out, rest of the field heads down and in, and currently the top 10 goes as follows. Kunman, Rodriguez, Zellner, Morrissey, Brooks, Kerr, Snyder, Jimmy McKee, Roberto Ramirez, and Connor Holden as all fly right out of pit road. First and foremost, you got that number 87 of Zellner winning the race off pit road, but Alan Kunman is the leader straight up. And we haven't talked all too much about the number 8's paint scheme, because this as well is a Jeff Burton throwback, but it goes in a different direction. Rather than Jeff Burton's later years with Richard Childress Racing, it's the Raybestos number 8, 1994. This is the very first year Jeff Burton was a full-time competitor, and he ran this paint scheme all throughout the campaign. Tonight, the Raybestos taken off on the side and the back end of that number 8 and instead replaced with SP designs, and right now, an SP machine leads the field for the first time tonight. 2-time winner Alan Kunman looking for his 3rd on the season 15 champ, looking good so far to get up and away. And alongside Jeff Burton that season for one race in 1994 at Richmond, Steve Grissom got a chance to run the Ray Bestis machine in the number 29. He finished 7th on that day. It was a one and only instance because Jeff Burton failed to qualify that night. Now it looks like the number 8 machine of Alan Kunman heads down and in, and with him he'll bring a Matthew Rodriguez. And so, up on top of the board, it looks like 2 of the 4 horsemen, Scott Zellner, Caleb Morrissey, will remain as your race leaders. We're going to come across the stripe here, restart at lap number 19 as we're get set to go once again. Scott Zellner up top, he'll bring his teammate there with, and Kenny Brooks decides to go high too. Big track position here for Kendall Kerr, and he's going to get the best of, I think, this situation out of anyone. He's going to make multiple positions up from 4th up into at 2nd on the inside groove. Looking real good now for a chance to go alongside Zellner and get the jump on this restart. We'll see how the inside line goes though. So far, grooves have been side by side, dead even for the most part. It looks like that's the only thing that saved the field in that instance where Corey Blevins got involved with DJ Stagner and company. Had there been one line advantageous, maybe we would have seen a huge domino-style chain reaction. Luckily, though, those involved, including Stagner and Blevins and of course, Scott Wheeler as well, got away from the rest of the field, and so we had little else to worry about. See what's next now. Scott Zellner up high, Caleb Morrissey down low. So for Zellner, he's in the exact same spot he started this race, only instead now he is the control car for this restart. First of the day as we go back green at lap number 19, Caleb Morrissey high. Then you got the 87 of Tyler Snyder right down low. Top 5 so far, well, it looks like only 3 of which started inside of the top 15. Rest of which, 16th and 20th for Caleb Morrissey and Kenny Brooks, had to work their way up here, and only 2 of which started inside the top 5, so already qualifying position doesn't seem to mean all too much, expecting to see a difference in position that is really regardless of where you started. Here we go again. Green flag is going to fly. The driver of the number 2, Scott Zellner, gets away, and it's time now for the number 2 of Zellner to bring his teammate through. Let's see how well the 4 horsemen get the jump. Now, it looks like the outside groove going to be dominant, but not led by the 4 horsemen. Instead, Kendall Kerr gets the jump and decides to go there with Tyler Snyder. Jimmy McKee coming up as well, and you're about to see teammates controlling both lines. Blacktop Racing going to be in full effect now, and Jimmy McKee going to stroll up to the inside of row number 1. Alongside him, there goes Kendall Kerr. Side by side now, 20 laps in at a 75 when we come across the stripe once again. It looks like it's going to be Jimmy McKee barely with the advantage. It's just enough to hang on. Roberto Ramirez back down low again. And Ramirez now, your pole sitter, is going to try to make something happen. He's still not gotten his first win on the season. This is not his first pole, however. Getting through and, of course, finding his way back up to the front of the grid is something that Roberto Ramirez has done on a regular basis in this season. Matter of fact, his qualifying campaign, well, if that's how the race is finished, I think he'd be significantly higher in the championship than he is today. Talking about the number 42 of Roberto Ramirez so far, in a championship quest, he finds himself in position number 8. 8th place right now, although he does find himself 71 points back on leader Alan Cummin. Not a bad spot to be in by any means, but he's not necessarily in direct title contention. He currently has no wins to go with 3 top 5s and 3 top 10s. And overall, while it's been a solid campaign, nothing all too special so far to really differentiate him from the drivers he's closely surrounded by. He's 1 point behind DJ Stagner, 4 points ahead of Scott Zellner, in all honesty, he has not been able to do anything all too special to differentiate himself or even say he's been the better driver than either of which. DJ, he has a victory, as does Scott Zellner, and Zellner actually has better peripherals to go with, including 4 top 10s. Now, overall, leading the field in top 10s is Alan Cunman with a total of 7 so far, but having 4 is not an uncommon number for drivers inside the top 10, and having only 4, we mean. So nevertheless, it's not been easy to maintain any consistency, but to have a top 10 rate under 50% is not too flattering for the number 42, and I think now for Ramirez, the big goal is just to hammer down on keeping the position which he started with, which has been overall not impossible for Ramirez, but he hasn't been the best at doing so, which I think is something that has to be improved upon if he wants any chance to maintain his position in this championship fight. Rewind once again, Caleb Morrissey up top, going to bring Kenny Brooks and the number 31 right there with as the field flies by. Jeff Burton's number 31 paint scheme run tonight once again by a very familiar face in Dylan Poteet. One of the final paint schemes we did not get to is a little bit further back in the field, and that's going to be with the number 99 of Ryan Potter. All the way at the tail end of the pack he was, but it looks like he's gotten himself back up further. GRT tonight, so he's going to be running with the likes of Sebastian Miller, teammates with him, but that's a throwback to the CLR number 57, a paint scheme ran by Kevin LePage in 2003 and Brett Bodine as well. Not maybe too well known to the average fan today, but that silver paint scheme alongside its 3 colored stripes, yellow, green, and red in real life, well, almost a bit of a cult favorite. Now tonight, different paint scheme colors all throughout, but the same metallic base. Ryan Potter right now trying to get up to his teammates Miller, and he commonly works with DJ Stagner as well. So far, he's up and in front, but it doesn't look like he's got anyone he can necessarily work with, and that might be his biggest disadvantage. Kendall Kerr going to lead to lap number 24 this time by, and it looks like he's got himself the race lead, being pushed far out in the head by Tyler Snyder, and no trouble getting up and ahead so far. DJ Stagner additionally is going to decide to head down to the bottom groove. 3 wide once again. Jacob Hahn, Caleb Morrissey all on each other, and it looks like 24 laps into the 75. We're coming closer and closer to already the 3rd way marker. First quarter has been quite easy for these drivers. We only had that one incident, and it was brief, and very few got involved. Corey Blevins right now is 7 laps down and off the circuit, but Scott Wheeler and company are still going at it. Here's a few other of those throwbacks we'd like to mention. Number 88 Machine, Circuit City, Hutch Strickland, among others. Now, the last time Circuit City was a full-on sponsor was in 2019 with Shane Lee and the H2M Racing operation. Now, tonight, it looks like this is a throwback to the very original iteration when Hutch Strickland, of course, was the driver in the number 8. Shane Lee was the driver for the 28, and Jason Harris, of course, is the driver of the 88. While Circuit City doesn't exist in the same form that it did some 20 years ago, some smaller non-retail stores exist, at least non-big box size anyway, and if you go to circuitcity.com right now, you will see that the website still is up, although definitely not in the same form. You can still purchase your items from Circuit City, and go into some department stores such as Bloomingdale's. You might actually find yourself Circuit City branded merchandise and items that could actually help you in your day-to-day life. Now, to say they're Circuit City products is not necessarily true. That's like if you bought a Radio Shack set of batteries today. Radio Shack doesn't really exist, but the name still exists and its likeness is still there. This throws it back, though, to when it was a real powerhouse in American retail, and Hutch Strickland was the driver. Adam Bozzi, I don't think it's much a throwback to a paint scheme as much as it is to the idea of the original PlayStation. It's dark gray color and that logo. Looks like Garage Beer still the sponsor tonight, and for Adam Bozzi, very familiar look for him, but slightly different PlayStation logo on the hood. Sony PlayStation coming out some 29 years ago now, as a matter of fact. And time has been flying. At that time, we were just getting the very first 3-dimensional stock car racing games on video game consoles such as NASCAR 97 and 98 produced by EA, and how far have we come since that point to be where we are today. A little bit of a well-known throwback, shall we say, back when we went to Suzuka, the NASCAR Cup Series in 1998, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Dale Earnhardt Sr., Coca-Cola, the Arctic Freeze duo of paint schemes tonight, all jet black for Lucas Logano, and it looks like he's got that paint scheme worn out well. He won in dominant fashion last week at Chicago, and we expected the road course favorite to come back and do road course favorite things. He won convincingly, and right now it looks like he finds himself in the tail end, lying back and hoping to escape any additional trouble. For Chad Winstead, not quite sure if it's a direct throwback. If it is, it's not to the throwback you might be thinking of, because when we think Hot Wheels, I think we first jump our minds to the number 44 of Kyle Petty for Petty Enterprises 2, and he ran that paint scheme for several years in the late 1990s, from about 1996 until 99. Maybe around 2000, about the time of Adam Petty's passing, that Hot Wheels paint scheme was still in full effect. However, since that point, we haven't seen all too much of Hot Wheels, although throwbacks have been made many a time before. There's none quite like the original paint scheme that Kyle Petty ran in the late 1990s. And for Chad Winstead, it's got the flame look, but it's not necessarily identical, very reminiscent. What it does look like, of course, more so a modern reiteration, or something more akin to what another driver has used, such as Mark Martin. And the flames and the Valvoline, it goes together better, and it's much more like what Mark Martin ran in 1997. So you might think Kyle Petty at first. It's not quite Kyle Petty. Instead, it goes back a little bit further to a lesser-known Hot Wheels paint scheme, the number 6, ran by Mark Martin ever so briefly. And so we'll go back up to the head of the field. I think we've touched upon almost every driver. Number 18, Ty Smith, different paint scheme, maybe not much of a throwback. If anything, the number 18 Bass Pro Shops machine we've seen many a time before. And that number 18 right now running pretty well. He finds himself back up in his 17th. And your Daytona winner, he collected the checkered flag by virtue of simply not getting caught up in the mayhem last time around. So if he did that in Daytona, there's a chance he can do it again here in Talladega. We'll see, of course, as the race goes on. And now all focus is back up to the front of the field as we go by for lap number 30 this time through. 3 wide up in front, but there's a load of room in Talladega. 3 wide is really not much you should worry about, as Ryan Potter now has the race lead. Currently, Ryan going to find himself on the high groove. Kendall Kerr in the middle is going to find himself scored in net third. Jimmy McKee on the bottom might be scored in second place, depending on the way you look at it. As it stands, Talladega is giving us a lot of room here to go 3 wide. And we've seen sometimes drivers going 4 wide and getting away without incident. Something you do not often see, however, it could still happen. It would be 5 wide. Might happen. Not to say it's going to occur, but we might see a push come to shove and true aggression in the form of further on racing, which, as it stands, a driver, the number 48 of Jimmy McKee here, I don't think he wants to see that, but if the inside groove sees trouble, they can duck down low. That's the big benefit of being down low, and even on the high groove, if something happens, you're much likelier to get away from it if you're on the extremes, on the extreme high or extreme low, than if you're stuck in the middle. Because for Kendall Kerr, if someone comes down into him, he's going to be hit by the drivers who are even further below him. If he gets struck by someone above, he can get shot right up into the third groove, and it would be catastrophic. He's in the middle, the riskiest position to be in. Right now, yes, Kendall has a low to track position, but at the same time, it's really not the best place you'd want to be in here, especially for safety's sake. So we'll really see whether or not Kendall Kerr worries all too much about that. Currently, I don't think he really has to be concerned of that because most drivers have kept it calm. But if we do see incident, the middle groove is not the place you want to be. Maybe that's the big problem of being inside of that sucker hole. If you're in the back half of it, though, you might still be able to escape. Someone like the number 81 of Connor Holden, perhaps, having just enough room to get out and escape from what's around him. I think that's a possibility that's more likely for someone like Holden than someone like Kendall Kerr. Ty Smith is going to drop back. He doesn't like what he's seeing and decides to give it a few extra car lengths. Just staying in the draft. That's the big thing. You do not want to give up the toe. That could be race ending, depending on, of course, what happens ahead of you. Currently, Ty Smith still a few car lengths back. Doesn't look like he's all too concerned with what's ahead. Race leading now is going to be Ryan Potter as we come across the stripe once again. 3 wide and being pushed now by the number 31 of Dylan Poteet. Kendall Kerr has Tyler Snyder. He's had him for a while. Jimmy McKee has with him now the number 83 of Sebastian Miller. 3 wide, 4 rows deep. And it might be 5 if Caleb Morrissey pulls up as well. Caleb has been a wonderful driver so far, the number 6. And it looks like, even though Chicagoland, we could have chalked it up to being his biggest defeat of his Highline Racing League career, it looks like it honestly lit the spark and it put him back into further contention and maybe go for another win or two. He won 2 weeks after the fact, and it looks like the intermediates have been wonderful so far for Caleb Morrissey. Won in Kansas. He was a second-place finisher, of course, in Chicagoland. Maybe now, what's up next on the table is another victory. Tonight in Talladega, he would go back to the track where he won in Season 15 and do it all over again. Now he's 13th of the championship race and finds himself a total of 24 points back on P6. So he's now in a very tight points battle, and he's only gotten better and better as of late. So far, Caleb Morrissey, 6 races on the season and 4 top 10s, 2 5s. In all honesty, while the numbers might not be all too strong at first when you hear them, you got to consider he's missed 2 races, and averaging it out, he would have at least 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s, one of the highest numbers all throughout the campaign. Caleb Morrissey looks like he's coming to his own once again, and while it's been quieter to start, definitely something we've had to be put on to ever since Chicagoland, and Kansas, best races, and he's once again up at the head of the field again, looking for a chance for successful results. It might not come down a chance though. One driver get a bobble. That's the number 81 here of Connor Holden. With the green flag racing we're seeing right now, indication is that pit road will be necessary within about 20 laps or so. Now, 20 laps is not going to be, of course, something considered immediately anyway, but you gotta imagine that if we go 20 more laps, that is less than 10 minutes. So very soon you gotta wonder, when do you go in? When is it right to start thinking about making that move? What has to be done on pit road? Presumably it's gonna be 4 tires and fuel, but is there something else you can do to perhaps undercut the field, get some better strategic calls in? Quite sure. Still a lot of questions looming around all these drivers, and I think they've got to wonder now. Well, we're halfway through. One pit stop is likely still due. When is it time to make it? We went to pit road for the first time today, just on the bubble, which means it's going to be a risky call to go the rest of the way. You could try it, but it's not really going to be the best case scenario. And I think now everyone has to imagine when it's time to go down and in, rather than hypothetical of not going in at all. This time around, we're going to go for a halfway lap and see who gets that halfway lap led. Only going to be the bonus of bragging rights tonight, and I don't think anyone else is going to fight all too hard for it. But so far, Kendall Kerr is going to have the advantage, leading it in to lap number 37. Ryan Potter going to find himself further back. He was just leading 2 laps ago, but now the battle is again between Kendall Kerr and Scott Zellner. Zellner going to find himself on the top side now, being pushed by his teammate. Caleb Morrissey finally locking up with the number 2 once again, and as they link together, coming down the back straight, not enough momentum just yet. The Alabama gang's super stretch has been rather kind to the inside all night long. Strength in numbers has been found on both sides to this point, so surprising to see that the inside is once again coming away, although there's not much a difference in terms of who's where. There's some drivers in the inside groove who are more so below, but aren't participating in pushing a groove up. And so as we come across the line once again, it's going to be leader Kendall Kerr now with 37 laps remaining. Good start to this event, as now 38 laps to go becomes a full-on 37 lap left sprint from here. Talladega, the action has remained fierce all night long. Halfway point of this race is going to see Kendall Kerr advantageous, and now you got the teammates working with one another. Caleb Morrissey and Scott Zellner take a ride on board, and driver telemetry, I don't think it's going to tell you the full story. for the most part, just flat on the throttle. No need right now to do anything different. Pushing as hard as possible with speed and aggression. Maybe a little bit of less aggression right now, of course, if you're up in front. Caleb Morrissey going to be almost flat-footed. I don't even think telemetry will give you the accurate results, given how quick we're going and how little speed sometimes is gained. One lap down, Jason Harris is going to go. It looks like he went down a pit road already and decided to do something a little bit different compared to the rest of the field. Jason Harris, you can see that number 88. Looks like he now has very little trouble getting back out and up in front once again. So far, it looks like the 88 will just slot back in line, and he's waiting to see what is up next. Early strategy call, risky strategy call. Maybe now he's got an opportunity to just get himself in line, not worry about losing anything more, and focus his sights on the rest of the race. Second half is still due to come for the most part anyhow. Kendall Kerr is your race leader. Second place is Tyler Snyder. Then you got side by side, it's going to be Scott Zellner and Kenny Brooks with Caleb Morrissey in P5, Ryan Potter 6th, and Dylan Poteet is in 7th. 6th is going to be Connor Holden. And then you got right beyond that, Matt Muir and Dalton Beer, who conclude the top 10. Biggest movers so far on the day, 24th up to 6th. Huge gain so far for the driver of the number 99, Ryan Potter. He's made it up so far, 18 on the day, and a fantastic night for him. Coming to 35 laps remaining this time around, we'd like to introduce all our viewers live on FTN to iRacing, Motorsport Simulations. Since 2008, iRacing.com has left nothing on the table when it comes to realism and a second-to-none online racing experience. We've got a lot of drivers here who did not start on iRacing with the Highline Racing League. We started this league in 2011 on the NASCAR video game series at the time, which was Technics, and then you moved on to NASCAR 14, 15, and then 704 Gaming, and by that point it was time to move on to the next level, the best level of virtual stock car action. And not only stock cars, iRacing has open wheel racing, road racing, dirt action, and everything in between. If you'd like to start your virtual motorsport career, visit iRacing.com today to find out what's going on and what promotional discounts you can partake in. Now, Kendall Kerr in the onslaught come down a pit road, and with that 1, 2, 3 leading the way of a 10-plus car gaggle that head into pit road without incident. Pit road is busy, and now drivers are coming in mass. Pit road time here in Talladega, and we're going to return after the following message from our friends at iRacing.com.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Scott Zellner and company back on their way. They just made it out, and you can see the 4 horsemen. Well, 2 of which just came down at once. Scott Wheeler now has the tentative race lead, and so it's going to be Zellner and Caleb Morrissey coming together once again. So, 33 laps to go. Matthew Rodriguez and company going to get caught up to now by another pack, and you can see who's coming with. At high speed, Ryan Hines is going to take the net race lead, but that's only because, for the time being anyhow, he has decided to go down to pit road prematurely. Now we got some shuffling. One driver going very far down low. Everyone else gets away. That looked to be the number 81 of Connor Holden, and Holden will keep it together. There's the number 81. That was Ty Smith, rather. And both drivers rather close to each other. This time around, Smith disadvantageous. I don't think he's going to be able to get back up in front. So Matthew Rodriguez goes down to pit road for a second time. Same goes there. It looked like for Harry Brooks, and as such, 2 drivers gonna rectify some mistakes. Meanwhile, Scott Wheeler is the overall race leader. Interesting to see Ryan Hines up in the front, and this main pack has gotten big once again. 32 laps to go, and back to the way it was. Ryan Potter and Kendall Kerr are gonna be first and second. And talking about consistency, everyone coming together yet again. You got that number 99 down low, the 21 up top. The big question now becomes, of course, what's up next for the rest of this race? Do we see drivers getting a little bit more aggressive? Do they have the opportunity to get more aggressive without risking their race? Well, unfortunately, I think at these circuits, that is really a resounding no. At this speed, anything could happen, and making one wrong move, one small move that could go the wrong way, could end anyone's night. Not necessarily everyone's, but these big wrecks, they can attract more than 15 to 20 drivers. You might know that in the real world, there was a huge incident with respect to what happened to the Talladega Cup Series race. 28 drivers involved. Now, that is the largest recorded number in any incident in NASCAR history. Now, field sizes of over 43 and the like existed beforehand. Maybe the records don't go that far back, but officially speaking, 28 drivers, the most ever involved in one incident. Scott Wheeler is still your leader, mind you, but Ryan Potter and company are now coming up. And Dylan Poteet's going to be the man first and foremost to lead the charge. Here comes the number 31 working through the front straightaway. Coming out of turns 3 and 4, he's got a car length ahead of the rest of the pack. Now 30 laps left. Here comes Scott Wheeler, and he's going to be passed rather quickly here. The 97 getting shuffled further back, but he's still going to stay with the lead pack here. I think that's the best case scenario for him. Now it's going to be the number 31 alone and ahead. Kendall Kerr is in second up top, and let's see what the second group can do now, as it looks like its numbers are much stronger than before. Kendall Kerr with a shot in the arm. He's had Tyler Snyder consistently with them now for the entire night, and these two have been a good duo working with each other and really giving each other no problems, and that's exactly what you want at a track like Talladega. You might not know the drivers all too well around you, but if you have that advantage of having someone who, of course, you can trust, that's where things really come into play. And these two have been locked tight with each other since the beginning. And here they are again. Kendall Kerr remains high. 31 of Jeff Burton's throwback. Dylan Poteet remains low. Now it's 2x2 again, and at long last, we're seeing the 3 wide dissipate. 29 laps to go, so maybe there's an understanding now that there's still a lot of time left on the table. The first 50 laps of this race are going to go the way of course, saving up, getting ready, and strategizing. Then from there, you're going to see drivers get a little bit more aggressive. Racier behavior. Drivers going up and down the order, maybe a little bit less so, but they're all going to be stuck up against each other, where being a few hundredths of a second behind might be the difference between being in 3rd or being in 6th, or being in 9th and being in 12th, or being someone like the race leader to someone down a 2nd or 3rd. So with that said, the difference is clear here with double file racing. You can clearly tell exactly where you are, exactly who you're alongside. It's not really going to be all too chaotic. Yes, the speeds remain high, but double file is pretty easy to manage when everyone goes side by side. It's fantastic to see, of course, these drivers keeping each other alongside each other in check for so long. Only one incident, it was a small one and a brief one at that, and right now for Scott Wheeler, well, it looks like the recovery might be nearly complete. He finds himself now on the back end of the top dozen and just within the confines of the top 10. Getting oh so close to the number 54 of Kenny Brooks as well. 28 laps to go here, and the Amoco number, well, it looks like tonight not the 93, but instead up at the head of the field. Take a look. It's going to be the number 21 of the 87 and the 49. But that 49 is not in the leading conversation. In the pack, yes, but not in the conversation. Kendall Kerr sees it. Casey Heschel knows it. Casey is 1 lap down, and as a result, being in this fight, the only thing Casey can do is try not to intervene and cause any problems. And right now, I actually don't think it's a problem for Casey to be up here. It might be the benefit of everyone else. And that's the big thing here. Casey Heschel's going to drag around this outside groove who have to worry less about fuel because they've got a driver who doesn't have to worry about being in the lead. It's a win-win scenario for the pack if they can keep Casey Heschel up and ahead. They can trail around a driver who's got nothing to lose, and they won't lose any fuel in their own right. Now we'll see exactly how Casey is treated by this high groove. It's a big question here. What's going to happen as the number 49, of course, gets right through in the middle groove. A little bit more momentum coming out of the straightaways, but not nearly enough to clear for Dylan Poteet. Maybe Dylan Poteet doesn't want that extra assistance. Might not actually help on the inside groove, might actually slow them down. And with that being said, the middle gets the best of the advantage of having a lapper. The inside stays with what they want. The outside is few and far between. DJ Stagner tonight in the number 64. Yes, he is still with us. 29th up to 8th. He is up 21 spots on the day. Been silent, but he's also a super speedway ace, and I can imagine that even though we have not mentioned him, he's going to become a big part of the conversation in the very soon upcoming laps. From this point to the checkered flag, watch out for DJ Stagner. He's going to make his name known. If you don't know it already, he is the king of the super speedway in the Highline Racing League. He's won the season opener many a time before. He has swept Speed Week in the Highline Racing League, and when it comes down to his consistency at these tracks, it is otherworldly. He started outside the top 35 this year in Daytona, able to come away with a top 10 while his teammates were able to get to as high as a podium finish. DJ Stagner knows what it means to coordinate these races to a T. You might not even think of him to start, but he'll be there at the end and you'll know his name. We might actually end up talking to him if everything goes his way. Big question here, of course, becomes what's going to happen for DJ Stagner. Looks like 3 wide is not going to work out for now. He's got no choice but to slot back in line. And so 2x2 becomes the dominant choice. Dylan Poteet's going to find himself up high. And it looks like, while he's up top, he's going to bring with him here just a little bit more assistance down to the bottom again. Slicing and dicing up and down has been minimal and marginal. There's also another lapper in Ryan Hines, so the inside is going to be composed now of multiple lappers. Instead of Casey Heschel staying on the middle and helping them out, he does indeed go down to the bottom groove, and this is where Casey Heschel is going to see Kendall Kerr come alive again. So the 21 and 49 will be side by side, and it looks like they're going to be that way coming through the start-finish line all over again, with Ryan Hines backing up Dylan Poteet. So it looks like a little bit of a lead lap sandwich. The lappers on the top and bottom there, the number 31. And Casey Heschel stay just in front. At the line, Kendall Kerr, though, your race leader. Now with 23 laps to go this time around, up next on the table, of course, 22 laps to go. We'd like to thank TrackCams22.com for their continued support live on FTN. TrackCams for Gourmets provides the car and track cameras you see on a week-to-week basis in the Highline Racing League. For the best cameras possible in iRacing, visit TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams for additional information. The best broadcasters deserve the best cameras, and you should level up your game with track cams for Gourmets. We will return now with 22 laps remaining live on FTN, and we'll let you know exactly what's going on when we get back from our sights and sounds unfiltered here in Talladega. 22 laps to go in the WNC Strong Super Speedway race. Let's crank it up in Alabama. big one in Talladega, the field comes apart. Casey Heschel, Caleb Morrissey, among many others, yellow flags out with 21 laps to go. Massive incident through turns 3 and 4. Caution is out. Take a look at this. And the instant replay will show you what caused it. Yellow flag is out for only the second time today, and it looks like our time apiece has come to a close. 3 wide with Jimmy McKee. Casey Heschel, the lapper, was involved, hooking up with Ryan Hines, another lapper. Then into Kenny Brooks, Colton Gardner, Caleb Morrissey, Jacob Hom. Then Ryan Potter up into Connor Holden, and a huge pileup up top at the back end of the top 15. The most carnage is found. 20 laps to go. Caution's out for the second time tonight. And so now we are pacing once again. Field is getting back together. We're expecting pit road to cycle through for the second time tonight. Drivers will go in under yellow the third time overall. So now, pit road is going to get busy. Let's see what's up next on the table as drivers decide to drop down below the commitment line. It looks like DJ Stagner is going to give that resounding yes, and so the field will follow him. For the most part, in the back half of the field anyhow. DJ Stagner is not going to be alone, but many drivers decide to opt against going down to pit road. DJ is in, as is Dylan Pote, and then a few on further back, but Calendar Kerr, Tyler Snyder, Lucas Lodato and company decide to keep their track position, which makes sense. We've already gotten through to the point where everyone will make it without having to go to pit road again, so unless there's the yellow flag, of course, damage to repair under yellow, or maybe a chance for additional fuel to top off for a restart, there's really little reason to decide to make this move to go down and in. Kendall Kerr leads with 19 laps to go. A little bit of time before we go green, so we'll give you some non-stop coverage live on FTN. You won't miss a thing as we're going to give you coverage in between the yellow flag, and you'll see the pacing before we go racing again. We'll return before the green flag flies with 17 laps to go. You're watching live on FTN in Talladega. We'll be right back.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Returning to green now with 17 laps remaining. Race leaders Kendall Kerr and Tyler Snyder worked well with each other all night long. That's what we're looking to do as they get back at it once again after only your second yellow flag of the day. Been a largely green flag again. Of course, that's so far. Something we have seen many a time before in superspeedway races, but now the question becomes, what's up next? Got ourselves 18 laps to go, at most one green-white checkered attempt. Not a lot of extra time on the table available no matter what happens here. So hopefully we keep things clean and avoid all too much trouble. If not, it's going to be a lot more difficult for these drivers to get back on the way. Cautions have breed cautions before, but so far at Talladega, we've been able to avoid such a phenomenon. Less drivers now with us, 26 on the lead lap, including Caleb Morse, who is still just catching up. And we're ready to go once again. 27 on the inside and the 21 right up top. Control car going to be Kendall Kerr this time around. Hopefully for his sake he's going to link up with Tyler Snyder, and let's see what those two have in mind. Blacktop Racing in control on the high side with Jimmy McKee right there too. Green flag's out now with 17 laps remaining, and it looks like now Kendall Kerr gets exactly the jump he needs. Leading the way, going to be very familiar group up in front, side by side for the first 10 or so rows. Then you get back to the little bit of a cluster. Not too much aggressive racing per se, but you saw a little bit of brief three-wide action. There's Scott Wheeler, Jason Harris, Ty Smith, all drivers who struggled previously but got looped back together as a result of that yellow flag. Cautions might be certainly bad news for a majority of the field, especially if you get caught up, but for those who are outside of the lead lap, definitely great news to see. A little bit of a reset in mind rather than getting yourself all out of luck from the very beginning. Maybe one small incident has defined your race till that point and you found yourself only one lap down. That's the chance to recover, and that chance was taken. Caleb Morrissey was the next driver to go one lap down based on estimates. He's on the lead lap right now. However, he was on pit road long enough where it's going to be nearly impossible for him to get back up to the front of the pack no matter what happens here. So we'll see, of course, whether or not he can get there. For the time being, he still has a long ways to go. And so now with 16 remaining and still counting down, side by side, first and second rows, Tyler Snyder and Kendall Kerr right there with each other. They're going to be toe-to-toe with 16 laps remaining, and we'll be coming up next to only 15 laps left on the clock. Let's see what's up next here for Kendall Kerr. Number 21 got himself up on top, but he's still got Tyler Snyder to deal with. 15 laps to go. Lucas Lodato might be looking for 2 consecutive wins. He's up inside the podium conversation for the first time all night long. And talk about a surprise, all of a sudden the number 7 of Lodato might find himself in the mix to go at it all over again. Lucas is now neck and neck here with the 87 of Tyler Snyder, and this is something you might have not expected to see if you've been watching for the first 50-some laps. We're 61 laps in, and I don't think we expected to see Lucas Lodato at all, and yet he's here with us now. He finds himself all the way up inside of the 3rd position, and he's holding that spot comfortably to this point. Doesn't mean he's going to hang on all the way, but right now, well, looks like everything's going to be pretty promising for that number 7 team that's looking to go a little bit further. The distance is not too far from the checkered flag now. It's going to be a total of only 14 laps to go, and these laps have been going like rapid fire as of late. That time by, we went at a speed of about 185 miles an hour throughout the entire lap. While we might not be doing 100% pace, definitely are still going quick as we pace one another along through the Alabama Gang super stretch once again. Tyler Snyder's got the blessing here of Lucas Lodato. They'll work with each other, and they're going to be nose to tail, bumping and pushing up. The number 87 of Snyder has the overall race lead, and Adam Bozzi's right there alongside. Now the question is going to become, well, what happens here? Who gets the advantage? If, of course, we keep on driving through, does Lucas Lodato have enough assistance here from a driver like Adam Bozzi to push his way out to the race lead? Inside groove at the line again is going to be 4 wide with Caleb Morrissey. Caleb just went 1 lap down, and as a result of the damage, it looks like Caleb is not going to come away with a good result tonight. He's going to be 1 lap down, and he's in 26th. He led laps today, but unfortunately for Caleb, it looks like that's all he's going to get credit for. Caleb tonight, well, he led some portions. Wasn't able to get any credit. So, not the best of nights for Caleb Morrissey, and it looks like it might actually be his worst night of the season, although he found himself getting closer and closer to a chance for a top 5. That will not happen once again tonight. Now, as we return to the up and front action, we're going to come with 12 laps to go this time by. DJ Stagner is going to send it up high and fast to make sure he gets out of the second group and gets up with the main pack. 12 laps to go when we come across the stripe right here. The final dozen. That's what it all comes down to. Kendall Curry up in the middle. He's got the lead. Tyler Snyder's now going to see another contender who's up to the ceiling even further. Dalton Beer, the number 38. Take a look at Dalton up on top. He's got himself now for the first time all night long the race lead. It's not often you see Dalton up here charging through, but he's got the perfect amount of help to take the race lead for the first time tonight. Dalton drops down to the inside. He's going to throw a massive block down low. It sticks, but it certainly is going to be an eye-opener for all those just behind, including Tyler Snyder here. Tyler now with 12 laps to go, coming down into 11. Well, things are getting tighter here. The field's getting closer and closer again. Now the big question becomes, what can be done of it for a driver like Snyder? For the majority of the race, the second driver. He has been the pusher, and I think that's where he's developed a lot of that trust to stay up in front. Drivers know they can keep with Tyler and not have a problem, but how is he going to find someone that wants to push him if he's well-renowned at this rate for being the pusher, the driver who's on the back end, rather than the one getting the assistance? Now that's going to be tricky, especially because right now he finds himself gridlocked. You can see it 3 wide. Jimmy McKee and Terry Brooks going to be a little bit of a falling back now as we have to adjust for Terry Brooks. He's going to get a little bit squirrely. Luckily, the outside groove does not fall apart. They were able to give him just enough room and now put it all back together again. The number 23 of Brooks hangs on, and now he's just going to have to put that third groove back into order, albeit that's going to take him a lap or two. But there's still help coming soon. Sebastian Miller's all the way down to the bottom, and it looks like now up top to include the likes of the number 70 of Matt Muir, Terry Brooks, DJ Stagner, and Jason Harris. Jason looking for his first Highline Racing League win in the modern era here on FTN from season 14 onward. Could get it tonight. Anyone in this top 20 bundle still have a very real chance at not only getting the job done, but escaping the carnage and coming away with the win. Not really about having the dominant pace, not about having the best strategy right now. If you're here, you have a chance, and you have almost an equal chance to everyone around you. Let me take a ride on board now with someone who's in the heart of the pack. Shad Winstead, see what's going on. Well, he's just a little bit further behind. He's got a little bit of a better view of all of the action. He finds himself currently in 22nd. Take a look, smacking 10th in DJ Stagner. While the top 10 is not safe, it is there, right within the thick of it. And I think now for DJ Stagner, that's the most important thing. Doesn't necessarily matter if it's a safe position, but if it's relevant, you've got a real good shot. Top 10 especially is oh so close. I think if you're on the bottom side right now in the top 10, you've got the best advantage even still. You can duck out of harm's way if something happens, and with 9 laps to go, something is bound to happen. Whether it is on the last lap or otherwise, we are expecting to see push come to shove, which is a trend commonly seen throughout all superspeedway racing, and that push come to shove mentality is especially prominent in those last laps. 8 to go as a matter of fact now. You can see Matt Muir's up on the top side. You got Kendall Kerr still there with. Down to the bottom is Dalton Beer. Side by side, 3 rows of 3 wide. And then you got about 4 or 5 drivers who are very close to staying 3 wide. They haven't been able to, but that's just because of how close and stacked up they are up in front. They're breaking away. Then from there, you got drivers further on back who are close, but just not enough with regards to contention. We're going to come across the line again to make it 7 laps to go. Keep in mind, once again, 5 laps to go, and then on down. It's going to be all about overtime. It's the one and only overtime attempt we have, so we do not want to go to checker territory. However, if something is to occur, we will have that opportunity in the bag. Something that, of course, we do not want to see. We're hoping to keep it green. We ended Daytona under yellow, however, and it might end up being the next step. Dalton Beer rather close to Kendall Kerr. Luckily, he's shaking. He's only minor. Now, Kendall Kerr is going to find himself neck and neck again with Matt Muir up top and the 48 right there alongside. Jimmy McKee smack in the middle. Then you got, of course, the all-time winningest driver in Scott Zellner. Side by side, 3 wide they remain. 6 laps to go this time by, and the final 6 will determine who gets the job done and who misses out on victory lane. Only one winner in a field of 31 registries and 30 starters, and they're 3 wide all throughout. The first 25 drivers are within 1.2 seconds of each other, and they're all stacked up in just one pack. Caleb Morrissey going to put 1 more lap down. That puts him 2 under, as a matter of fact. So unfortunately for Caleb, that's going to continue the woes and struggles of his team. The number 6, well, unfortunately, compared to all those around him, really hasn't done as well. Scott Zellner is loose, and Scott Zellner is together. He keeps it straight, and it looks like, well, Zellner, he's going to lose some track position and maybe a little bit of confidence around him, but it's better than losing the race car entirely, and he will keep himself in the thick of it. Now, 3 wide is going to fan out and thin out ever so slightly. Matt Muir is going to be pushed only by Terry Brooks for the final 5-lap marker. Like that high side isn't going to work out all too well. What's up next here? Back end of, I think that number 38 is going to show you the whole story here, as it looks like now he's going to drop out quick. Dylan Pote, you going to see that? Oh, what a block! Dalton Beer! He goes back up through the circuit. We're still straight. I cannot believe what we just saw. The green flag is still out, mind you. Dalton Beer went into the pack again, and the caution's out now. We are going to a green-white checkered finish. What was that? Take a look back now and you'll see. So, it looked like Dalton Beer was the race leader at the time of the incident. And when that occurred, well, it looks like Dalton, he retaliated quite fast by going up and getting hooked. Somehow he kept it straight. And for most drivers, they kept it straight too. I mean, first and foremost, everyone saves it, which I can't believe that happened. But otherwise, still a shocking maneuver. Tyler Hampton gets caught up in it. We're going to call a yellow flag as a result of safety yellow. A save of unbelievable proportions, shall we say. Everyone gets away. We're going to overtime. This race could end in a caution. 4 laps to go. Don't expect drivers to go to pit road. This could be a natural green-white checkered. I don't think it's going to be. We're going to go to our one and only overtime attempt to finish this. So we're heading down to the last few laps. This race will be extended for a green-white checkered finish. The one and only. That's what's left. 4 laps to go, coming down to 3, and we're going to stretch this one a little bit longer. As we said last yellow flag, got a little bit of time before the racing goes at it once again. With 1 lap to green, we're going to return and tell you all about the final race scenarios, as we're going to bring you some non-stop coverage live on FTN. We'll be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Once again, welcome back, race fans.
One lap to green. It's going to be an overtime finish, our one and only attempt. Kendall Kerr is no longer going to be up there as a race leader, but instead it will be Jimmy McKee for Blacktop Racing. Alongside him, looks like now coming together, you're going to see Terry Brooks, Matt Muir, and then with Ryan Potter and Kendall Kerr decides to go a little bit further back here, as you can see in that number 21. Looks like now this is the one and only attempt we will have. No matter what happens, checkered flag will fall, and we will not get a chance to extend this race. Highline Racing League rules are different from any other league on FTN. No matter what happens, this is the final caution, and this will end the race. So, no other chance. This is it. It has to be done correctly here and now, or we'll finish the race under caution, and that will be that. So for Terry Brooks, who's up in front for the first time tonight, it's quite the shock to see him here, and yet he's made it to the party. 75 laps have taken him to get here, and it looks like now he's got a chance to hold it off all the way. It will be Terry Brooks' first win of the season, alongside Jimmy McKee looking for his first win of the campaign. And now the question becomes, got a lot of drivers here who are looking for first wins on the season. Which one of them breaks out? Do any of them? Could it be someone we're looking at further behind? Someone like Scott Wheeler? Someone like the number 8 of Alan Kunman win? Does it become Scott Zellner or Sebastian Miller? What is left of the field? Who is left that has a chance to win? iRacing official pace car lies down low, and it will take its rest for the night. It'll come back live on FTN on Saturday, or rather Sunday, with the Schumacher Racing League. SNT also taking a break as well for those who watch. But tonight, finish off the Thursday night campaign, Jimmy McKee and then Terry Brooks, first and second as we bring it back up to speed. Green flags out for the final 2 laps of this race. So now as the field gets away, it looks like a little bit of shuffling, but everyone keeps it straight, and that's what matters. Jimmy McKee remains side by side now with Terry Brooks, and it looks like now Kendall Kerr already looking 3 wide and up high. DJ Stagner shuffling ever so slightly. Scott Wheeler decides to take it up top side as well. 3 wide, but they're getting staggered back. That does not look to be the right move, but now Ryan Potter decides to help him. Here comes Ryan Potter going to make it the 3 wide race with 4 rows of three wide action. Then you got the top two who are just ahead. Terry Brooks leads. If he comes to the white flag, we will race to the checkered flag. If not, the race will conclude prematurely. It looks like now, with a minimal incident behind, we will make it back to the stripe. 1 lap to go. Do we make it? I think we do. White flag's out. This race ain't over. Major incident behind. Yellow flag will not be thrown. We keep on going. Incident of the back. Kendall Kerr among others involved. And they're still wrecking. Ryan Potter, Alan Kunman. That's all behind us now. Multiple drivers looking for their first win. Dawson Buchanan, the rookie, will turn Terry Brooks. Brooks stays alive. He'll come back up the track. He'll get side by side now with Dawson Buchanan. Jason Harris is in third. And now Connor Holden looking to avenge his teammate who won at Daytona and make it 2 consecutive superspeedway wins for the Swamp. Dylan Poteet is up and ahead with now 500 yards to go. Much like Chet Burton in 2010, he'll be juked, but this time the 31 holds on. Coming to the checkered flag, Dylan Poteet wins in Talladega, rewriting history in the 31. Poteet wins, and he will not be denied. Connor Holden, second. Jason Harris in third. And talk about perfect defense. Dylan could have turned himself. He could have turned everyone around him. He stays calm. And that's the difference between victory and defeat. A disciplined effort from Dylan Poteet tonight. 15th up the first. He will win here in Talladega. Dylan Poteet wins from Connor Holden in third place, Jason Harris. It's going to be Dawson Buchanan in fourth, and then Terry Brooks P5 with sixth place, DJ Stagner, and seventh in Sebastian Miller. Roberto Ramirez finishes eighth with Jimmy McKee ninth, and Ty Smith, winner at Daytona, finishing 10th. 11th place will then and there be just behind, and that's going to be Tyler Snyder. It'll be 12th in Chad Winstead, 13th Scott Stelner, Colton Gardner 14th, and Tyler Hampton 15th. Alan Cummins P16 with 17th Ryan Potter, 18th Scott Wheeler, Matt Muir in 19th, and Kendall Kerr in 20th, with 21st Jacob Halm and 22nd and Adam Bozzi. 23rd will be Dalton Beer with Matthew Rodriguez in 24th and Lucas Lodato P25. Caleb Morrissey, Casey Heschel, Ryan Hines, Kenny Brooks, and Corey Blevins will be your retirees for the night, as J.R. Houston did not start. Now, Dylan Poteet burns down the house. Poteet continuing to tear it down here, his first win of the season, and for the first time that we've seen on FTN, Poteet winning at a track larger than a mile. What a win for Dylan as drivers continue to come by. You saw Matt Muir there and Matthew Rodriguez. I think Dylan now is going to pull it at last into pit road, and I think it's about time that we get a word from your race winner. Top three drivers coming up next live on FTN. Words from your race winner, Dylan Poteet, among the rest of the podium here in Talladega. What a way to win. Many a time we wonder, what does it come down to in those two-lap shootouts? Who's going to win and how do they do it? You see there, Poteet didn't have the best position. If a yellow flag came out in the first lap, he would not have won. Simply put, he would not have won the race. He got lucky in getting that white flag. And then from there, he did a fantastic job in avoiding the chaos and making it to victory lane. Tonight, it looked like with so many things going on in those last two laps, it could have been anyone's win, Dylan, but you held yourself together, stood tough, and win here in Talladega. Welcome back to victory lane.
Thanks, I appreciate it, David. It's been a long time since that Phoenix win. We were still back in the Gen 4 car, and It's just wild. Like that whole last lap, I still can't even explain like what all happened. I don't know how I didn't get wrecked there coming into the tri-oval. Connor made a good move. It's the classic move that I shouldn't have fell for, but I got hit in the quarter panel and it somehow didn't wreck. So I appreciate him what he did there at the end. Like, we raced really good there together, and we actually flip flopped the last time we were here. I finished second to him. So, and I also want to give a shout out to Jason Harris for that push down the backstretch. I don't think I would even been in that position if it wasn't for him. And it's pretty wild to win this singular wireless Jeff Burton throwback. It's one of my favorite schemes ever. And I actually was supposed to run this for a throwback race like way back in season 13, and for some reason it glitched out and I didn't get to run it. So I found it again and thought, well, maybe just run it tonight. And here we are. Or the first race I ever won in this league was in the development series, and I hadn't won a super speedway race in this league since then. That was like 2 years ago. So it's pretty wild to come back and get a victory on a super speedway like Talladega. It's just I just can't believe it. I've just been waiting forever for this win. So this is awesome.
And you talk about it being a Jeff Burton throwback in 2011, those final 500 yards or so coming down the start-finish line, very reminiscent of when Jeff Burton lost at this track. You saw drivers going lower than you, down below the apron, but you kept yourself calm and you hung on without even having to be all too aggressive there. I don't know if you recall at all how it was for that last lap or if you just found yourself locked into the racing, but what was it there that led to that decision to really give it no mind and just keep going the way you were?
Well, I just was trying to get to a line that was just where there's places to be and stuff, and it just everything shuffled so fast, and I saw him wreck, and I didn't want to wait too late to make a move, and I was behind Terry there, and I thought off turn two was my best opportunity because I didn't want to wait too late and not be able to make him run for it. So I'm not sure what happened afterwards. I saw him go to the apron. I don't know if there was a lot of contact there on the bottom, but I went up high, and then, like I said, Jason was there, and he gave me a heck of a shot. And we were all extremely nervous about the pushes and stuff because I don't know if it's since the update, but like these things are hard to push now. We were all squirrely, and I think we didn't push nearly as much as we have in the past in these cars. So all in all, like I said, shout out to Jason for that push there, and I want to shout out to, again, all the guys I worked with tonight, and I was with the Swamp Boys tonight, so I want to give them a shout out as well. I think I was with the 99 almost the entire race. It felt like so, and I'm also very thankful to get away from that incident on the back stretch because I was one of the guys on the outside got squeezed in the wall, and lucky I didn't get really bad damage. So I don't know, just it's just crazy. It was just wild, and just so happy to get a victory. So it's awesome. My birthday is actually this week, and I was telling them it'd be awesome to get a win for my birthday, and I'm turning big 30 on Sunday, so I guess this is a good early birthday gift. So pretty excited about it all in all, and just glad to get Team Trap House back in victory lane. I'm the lone soldier right now of this team, and get another win from them is especially really special, especially with Dylan Bodies having his situation the last few months. So this one's definitely going to be dedicated to him and all the guys like Scott, Cody, and Derek. They were all in North Carolina. This I have the sticker over the door next to my name, and it's for all the people that were for Hurricane Helene, and I want to dedicate that also to all of them and everybody and thinking about them and hoping they're doing better today.
You mentioned such a big victory for you, but a long time coming since Phoenix. Now, next up on the schedule, we got ourselves a unique track, so we could go many places in many ways. I think on that unique ballot, we've got Phoenix, a track you've won at before, maybe for the taking. How are you feeling about your chances or whatever we have next week? It really is hard to predict.
Well, it'd be nice to go to one of those tracks like that because there's a few that I think are left that I'd like to run. Phoenix would definitely be good, but it is what it is. Wherever we get, just trying to clean up this season. This has probably been the worst start of a season I've had probably since I've joined the league. So I'm trying to clean everything up and try to have a better second half of the season. Try to at least get back to the top 10 in points and try to get running back up toward the front and finish these races. I've been my own worst enemy this season at the finish of races and threw some good finishes away. So just trying to clean up my mistakes and just try to finish the rest of the season off well as best I can. So this is a good start to the second half of the season, and even last week at Chicago getting a top 10. So hoping that this starts a good momentum swing for the team and try to move on and see what we can do.
And a big race to win here in Talladega. Dylan, checkered flag is yours. If you have any final comments or shout outs you'd like to give, the floor is yours.
Just a shout out again to Team Trap House, everybody there. Well, what's left of me and Dylan Body. Like I said, the win's dedicated to him and all the guys from North Carolina that were with Hurricane Helene. Like I said, I'm glad to win that for them with the sticker on the car. And shout out to Swamp Motorsports and everybody, including Sebi, who was with us as well in that chat. Thanks for working well with me, and everybody else that worked with me throughout the race. I appreciate it, and just glad we survived. And thanks you guys for putting on the broadcast as always, and thank you everybody's watching the stream. And my last win in my 20s, so you're gonna turn big 3-0. So I guess I'll try to enjoy it as the best I can.
And you know what? Great way to finish it off, shall we say. Dylan Poteet, a win here in Talladega, and a big one of that coming through in the green white checkered finish. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Hope you're back soon.
Dylan Poteet on the move. He'll get himself a victory, and then from there, you got second place, and that's going to be tonight. Connor holding the number 81. Connor coming away with the P2 and almost able to match what we saw from Ty Smith in Daytona. Nevertheless, a great finish, very close to the end. You got the win.
Are you talking to me?
Yep. Connor, what's up?
Survived, and it sucks to finish second. The Swamp was on a five. I don't know how many season, but we haven't lost a SuperSpeedway Racing forever, so it sucks to finish second. But I really didn't have a run to get to Dylan. I tried, and when he made the block, he had enough just to clear me and save it. So he did nothing wrong, and he did everything right. So it is what it is.
And everything works out with respect to at least getting up to the podium there and talking about your race up and down, but finishing on the high side of it. Now, qualifying to the race today, overall, kicking it off in position number 6. You were up in the front from the beginning. Anything in particular? Let's talk about the strategy and perhaps first and foremost talk about pit stops. We had some under green, some under yellow. You think they made any big impact for you?
Well, the one pit stop I felt like we had under green ended up affecting us because we caught some lap cars, and I unfortunately the field kind of stacked up and I got in a tie, and that's the last person I want to get into anytime. So I'm glad he was able to save it, and he was able to finish the race. But my strategy here is just to always stay up front. I always feel like running up front's just the safest place, and I don't think that was the case tonight. And it was so hard to pass tonight, and luckily they wrecked, and we had a run at the end, and this has been the worst season I've ever had. So when your best finish is 15th this season, to come home second, I'll take it.
And a big jump at that. So Connor holding perhaps a momentum boost to bring the rest of the campaign. If you have any final comments you'd like to give, we'd love to hear it.
I just want to say thank you to everybody on Swamp. Ty, Ryan finally got a chance to race tonight, so happy for that for him. DJ, of course, DJ's DJ. So shout out to Dylan. Dylan did a great job tonight, and he's always been a friend of Swamp. And the last season, he pushed me to win at Talladega. It's kind of fitting that we finished 1-2 again, just other way around. And final thoughts are, of course, with everybody. We have so many people in here from North Carolina and Florida, so they're going through hell right now. So prayers out to them, and I hope everything ends up working out in the best for them.
So Connor Holden, second place on the day here from Talladega. Best finish on the campaign. Thank you again for stopping by.
All right, y'all have a good night.
And with Connor Holden on the move, one final driver to speak to, the 88 of Jason Harris. Best finish on the season for the number 88, coming just behind Dylan Poteet across the line, and Jason comes through for third place. Big finish, best on the season so far. Jason, how do you feel?
I feel good. I don't really know what to say. That was crazy.
An exciting race from start to finish for you, of course. You found yourself starting very far back, 26, so you made up 23 spots on the night. Back from the field, of course, tail end to the front, you saw everything, and all of it from tail end all the way to the top. Now, I'd like to ask you first and foremost, how was it going through the field from every angle?
It was pretty decent. Most of the night, everybody seemed to be pretty decent. Just kind of slid my tires a little bit and ended up falling back with that first pit stop. And luckily, caution came out and kind of saved me, and figured to go for broke from then on.
And it looks like going for broke helped you out big time, getting away from the last lap incident. Green, white, checkered, really making a change for you. It's the first time we've seen you up on the podium all season long, and it's quite some time. I don't know if you thought you had anything else left, or was that as aggressive as you got?
I was trying to go for a second and trying to make a move, and got ran into in the left rear and got in the corner, and didn't really mean to do all of that, but didn't have nothing to do it. But this just shows that not all back markers are bad drivers.
Well, you talk about yourself as a back marker, but a great result nevertheless today. Now, rest of the season up next. We don't have super speedways up on the calendar. We got one of those unique tracks up next. Maybe a chance to bring yourself another solid finish at that?
I'll definitely try. Represent QCR and see what we can do.
That being said, a big run tonight. 88 machine coming forth with a third place run. Jason Harris, any final comments you'd like to give?
Nah, thank you for what y'all do with show y'all put on week after week, and wouldn't be anywhere else. Enjoy racing here with all these guys.
There we go. Jason Harris, third place from Talladega. Thank you again for stopping by. Podium on the night for the 88 team.
Thank you.
And so, Jason Harris, third place, we spoke to. You got second place in Connor Holden, and eventual winner, Dylan Pote. The three drivers who make up your podium tonight from Talladega. Finishing off an action-packed event. Only 3 cautions, although we did finish with a green, white, checkered. We finished under green. Largely clean and green event here for the 2.66 mile circuit, and we thank you all for tuning in live on FTN. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. I've been David Troitz, commentator and producer for tonight's event. Same time, same place next week, Thursday night, we'll have ourselves more Highline Racing League action, so we hope you tune in and continue to enjoy the coverage of the 18th season of the Westlake Royal Building Products Premier Series. From the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, you've been watching the WNC Strong Superspeedway race. We hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage and that you have a fantastic night.